Is this it?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Alright, what's up? This is Corbin from Crazy Cards, and today I'm going to show you off my Water Katana World deck. So, first off, I'm going to kind of give you a background. So, this deck is generally... I don't know anyone else who plays it. The idea of the deck is basically just to outlast your opponent by using the spells that are in the deck. And I'll explain why the spells are so good, and in particular why these cards actually make the deck really amazing. So yeah, let's start off with our monster lineup. So first of all, we've got our three Fang style ninja. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing that. Pay 2 gauge, double attack, 8/7. Fairly standard, but I'll explain why this guy is clutch in the deck and why you want to pull it every time. I'll explain that either in another video or if we have time at the end, I'll explain that. So, Mobile Ninja Jiraiya, 5/5, very standard. Katana needs their high defense, so it's just a good card in general. Now for some of the clutch cards in the deck. We've got Cat Shadow Aoi Hime. Aoi Hime is a bit of a strange card. It is water. Oh yeah, also, these are all water. All of these monsters are water monsters, so I'll explain why that's good. This card, basically when it's called to the field, you pay 1 life, you discard a card from hand, and you search for any Demon Way set spell. So I could search for Return to the Underworld, I could search for anything I wanted. But there's this card works extremely well in the deck. I need to get more copies of it. It's not that I'm only running one because I have to run one. I just can't get more. Also, yeah, onto the next one. This is the real player in the deck. This is your White Dragon Hermit Nanase. Nanase's effect is amazing. Okay, so you know how I've always been mentioning these are water monsters? This is the reason why I play all water. You pay 1 gauge, and you put 2 cards from your drop zone with water in their attribute into the soul. So literally it's sitting up at a 2 soul attribute, and as if that wasn't good enough, it has Soul Guard, but its other effect is you can get rid of souls to remove opponent's gauge. I don't often use this effect, but it's good just in case it's a deck that is gauge heavy, like
AKA Seeger.
Seeger, your Armor Knights, even Armor Dragons at times, depending on the deck build. But yeah, this card is clutch, and I'll explain why he gets even better later on. Okay, so now the rest of these, for the most part, are just in the deck because they're water. And so we've got Runaway Female Ninja Yukishiro. Yukishiro's effect is during your opponent's main phase when they cast a spell, so maybe they're making a set spell or something. Pay 1 gauge, discard, nullify the spell, and destroy everything. Or like, destroy all the spell. Not destroy everything, that would be OP.
Pretty good.
Ouch.
Pretty good.
But yeah, it's really good, especially if somebody casts maybe a Dragonic Charge or Vampire Fang to get that extra gauge. You're like, nope, don't want that to happen.
Especially if they're trying to set up, like, obviously you've got Gargantua, Punisher, and all those kind of final phase impacts. So it's a good. It's worth it.
It's worth it. I have never had to use it so far, just because either the deck, the card that they cast is just not worrying enough to me with the deck strategy, or I might even forget about it. But it's not like totally clutch. It's a weak striker with only 2/1. But I'll explain why, like I've said with all the rest of these, I'll explain why these cards get infinitely better. Okay, on to the next one. Loud Laugh Ninja Fugamuru?
It's a squirrel.
It's a squirrel from China. Wait, it's a Japanese ninja squirrel. Sorry, Japanese ninja squirrel. It's shiny too. Yeah, this is just your basic green dragon,
Green Dragon Shield to the
Bronze Shield Dragon. Your basic Bronze Shield Dragon, basic Bronze Shield Dragon, but he gets infinitely better. He is also water. All of these monsters are water, as I keep saying, but he really makes up for the lack in power is made up for eventually later. Okay? Now, I run 4 C-Splitting Irakamaru. It's a Skull Warrior, yes, but just like Aoi Hime, it's a Skull Warrior. It is water still. So we run that at 4 because it's just a very easy card to call. You've got 3, and it's got fairly high attack, which you can actually make later even better. And obviously, for the Buddy Monster, Kirikakure Saizo, it's a Water Ninja as well. Just gotta, it's okay. It's
2-3, which isn't bad.
It could be worse, but as with all of these monsters, since Katana World's a fairly weak deck anyway, their monsters are going to be weak, but since they also use counters, it generally tends to work quite well. But yeah, now I'll go on to the next section and explain why all this works the way it does.
See you in 2 minutes.
Alright guys, we are back from our short break. We were just setting up all this awesome spell goodness. Okay, so as you guys know, Katana is very much about the counter and the spells. This deck actually, yes it is about that, but no it is not. Okay, so first of all, we'll get to the clutch card in a minute. But this card is Demon Way Nor Hikigami. It's basically the ultimate slapback. You pay 1, destroy, if it's not a link attack, on a monster in your center. Basically, pay 1, destroy a size 2 or less monster that attacked. Not bad. Yeah. Shinobi Scrolls. Shinobi Scrolls, basically what you do is, it's a set spell, you pay 1 gauge, choose a ninja art from your hand.
Put it into the soul, and then you draw 1.
And then you basically draw 1, and you can cast any ninja arts from the soul, and it's a stackable effect, which is very, very good. And now to the clutch card of the deck. The deck that makes... The
deck that makes the card.
The card that makes the deck, sorry. Okay, this is my water technique. I'm not even going to bother to pronounce that. It's something ridiculous.
Water technique! Shino Zukame!
Wow, that really worked. Okay, pay 1 gauge. It's a set spell, so just pay a 1 gauge right out of the bat. Like, the thing about this deck is it costs hardly anything. And as I'll explain later, there's a way you can keep all of this working. But basically, all water attribute cards on your field get plus 2,000 power and plus 2,000 defense. That means even my weakest monster is up at a 3,000 defense and a 4,000 attack. The minimum of attack when this thing is set is a 4,000. So literally, this card makes the deck. And of course, why do I run 4? Consistency. You can't put more than 1 on the field, but with the amount of stuff that can knock it out, like guillotine cutters and stuff, literally...
Dragonic Survey?
Yes. Dragonic Surveys, everything like that. I figured it was just better to put 4 in and keep them working. And since it is Ninja Arts, Demon Way, and Water, it can go into the Soul of Nanase, and it can be searched by Aoi Hime. That is why Aoi Hime is clutch in the deck, is because even if I don't have these in hand, I can add them to hand and pay 1 gauge. Also, of course, you've got your Art of...
Okay,
What?
sorry.
Okay, of course you've got your Art of Body Replacement, no-brainer. If they're not link attacking, nullify. Which is good because, well, actually, to be honest...
We had a discussion about this, why people... you'll actually find quite a lot of people forget that they can nullify it if you don't link attack. So, as I sometimes do, is that even if my opponent says that 10 damage and they've got no monsters in the centre, I'll still link attack the centre, because then they can't nullify it and you're going to get damage.
And
easily.
Now this is where these cards come in, which is fine. Basically, Ninja Arts Steel Ball, it's Drago Energy clone for Katana. It does only work for ninjas, though.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a pain. And yeah, so you basically gives +3/+3. With this card, you're sitting up at a massive amount of power.
You say especially with your size 3, you're at like, is it 10 defense or something?
9 defense, 10 attack.
That's
so this is sitting some massive powers, and
yeah,
it's getting you some pretty good stuff. Also, we run 4 Clear Serenities, obviously, because the deck does chip away your gauge quickly if you want to set it up turn 1.
Yeah.
You just want to have these in any Katana deck in general, but especially in this one. So now we've got Elite Sword Juzumuru. Basically, just run it because why the hell not? It's got 3/3. It's equip cost, so you discard a card from hand. In this, the deck strategy is just last as long as you can. so they have to drop stuff. Or so you just get a massive hand anyway, so when you equip it...
Plus, I mean, you could equip it at the start,
Yeah.
and you could actually set up your size 2 that that you put the 2 soul in, you know?
Yeah.
You could set that up quite quickly and get that out, like first turn.
Also, if you have 2 other ninjas on the field, you basically you gain an extra 3,000 power. So it's definitely costs a lot less than this guy. 5 Heavenly Swords on Imaru. Basically, pay 1 gauge, put 2 in the soul, 6/3. Every time you attack with it, you lose 1 soul at the end of the turn. And basically what you're doing is you're setting... generally, it only lasts 2 turns as opposed to this. But according to most Katana players, and me as well, I would say that's the better weapon. You think we have time to show off a little bit of the deck strategy?
I think that's been like 10 or 11 minutes. So.
Yeah, we've got some time.
Right, so we'll pause it here.
And
be back in another 2 seconds. So now we're going to just show you how the deck works. So take it away, Corbin.
Okay, so first of all, you start off your hold on.
By the way, this is turn 1, and
Turn
we've
one
already
setup.
basically set it up for the free gauge because obviously you do
Okay,
that.
so 1, so you charge and draw. You first call out AoE Hime to your center position. You're paying 1 life, so usually, if it's turn 2, maybe you're at 7, in which case, I would buddy call first, basically just to throw away the life.
Yeah, basically you're just nullifying the cost of calling that the center in there.
Now, I use Search My Deck for a Demon Way spell, which, funnily enough, is this card. So, put it in your hand, and that's fairly good for a starter. Now, what you do, you pay your 1 gauge. Okay? Now, generally, it depends. If you think you can go long enough without gauge, that's fine. So you put...
But it's always kind of safe. Be kind of play safe. Don't go wee cocky and try to be cool.
So I'm going to call this monster. I'm going to explain why this monster works really well. Because this monster is the weakest monster in the deck. Even with that, this is becoming a 3/4 automatically. There are some dragons that are weaker than that. Like some size 2s that are the same strength. So this card's sitting up at 6/7. Now, that's pretty good already. So, my opponent attacks for this, to wipe this out, on turn 1. He's already going to have to probably link attack, depending on what he's playing. So, he link attacks, If he attacks with a single one, that's fine as well, because usually single ones are quite powerful on their own anyway, so they'll attack. So, I can do one of... Well, no, I can't do this, because this is ninja, so can't slap back. But, now that that's gone... And assume his turn is over. If it's not, I can probably take another 2, maybe 3 even. Because now, turn 2, call this card. If you've noticed, my drop zone has water ninjas in it. Or water cards in general. So these water cards go to the soul. Kablam! Right away.
Ooh, I got a message on Facebook.
Wow, okay. So that's set up. And that's a 7/7.
Ooh.
This one is not ninja. This is exclusively water. So my slapbacks won't work on this one either, which is a bit of a problem. But that said, it really doesn't matter. So say my opponent's got maybe 3 gauge, 4 or 3, depending on what they called. So I can do this. I can either remove a card from my soul to get rid of a gauge, and that can really throw them off, like especially if they're using decks like Gargantua, Punisher, anything like that. Seegers, that sort of thing. Or I can just wait around with a 7/7 in my center and just wait for them to link attack and kill me as much as possible. Now, the only other problem that I can see with this is that either somebody will cast a Ninja Arts half kill on me or something that will take away my soul. I don't think that there's any cards outside of Katana World that remove all the soul at once. No, there is. There's that Boulder one or whatever from Dungeon World. But the likelihood is that...
Is it Rolling Stone or something?
Yeah.
Like that, or?
The likelihood of people running Rolling Stone is quite slim because I know
a lot of people run it in their side decks because of Seeger. Because that Rolling Stones can just destroy Seeger so quickly.
It works, but it's not necessarily going to be something that they all have.
Gauge is so high for it.
But this, so basically, I can attack for 7. He's sitting at 7/7, which is a pretty clutch number. Then I can attack, so I destroy his center monster, whatever that might be. I attack for 2 already. Or I could attack another weaker monster that has a weaker defense than 4,000, because this is still sitting at 4,000. Even if it is the weakest card on the field, it's still sitting at a fairly decent number.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can set up for, say, they attack you, and basically they have to beat this, or they could try and beat this, and this is pointless anyway, because this is such a weak card as it stands. One other thing, though, say we don't get this. We still get her. The scenario remains the same. We just don't get this guy. Or he ends up going on our gauge for whatever reason. We have this card, and this card, and this card. These 3 cards make, in any of these scenarios, make it good. Because, so I call this unit, and this unit is up at 4/8. 8 is a number, like 7, most people could trump with maybe a single card. But 8 is a card that is a number that most cards don't actually have except size 3s.
Geronimo.
Well, if you get that. Okay, and he's a ninja, so I can use slapback on him, which works very well, especially with his high defense, because basically it will generally survive.
Yeah, it will survive anything unless they have, say if it was, obviously I'm a Dragon Knight player myself, and if I had Geronimo and it had the 8, or I like to do 20 attack, you can actually end up pulling off. He may be able to do that. Say if you were at 10, he's going to survive unless you have innate energy. If you can, unless you can counter it, he's going to win.
He can survive Jack Goldritter as well, which is one of the crazy things, is that Goldritter can be survived by this deck. It's one of the things that makes it clutch. Okay, so say this is not the one we have. We have this one. That's still 7/7, and it's a ninja, so you can use slapback. And now for one of my personal favorite, pay 2 gauge. Pay 2 gauge.
Damn it!
2 gauge, water, basically attacks again. Double attacker. It's sitting up at 10,000. That is going to one-hit KO Goldritter.
10-9.
That is going to one-hit KO Armor Knight Demon, Super Armor Dragons. It's going to KO just about anything. And
Geronimo.
People have to decide whether or not they want to drop cards from hand to nullify it, or they're going to lose cards from the field anyway. So whatever it's doing, it's still forcing massive guard out of them. I mean, and it's a ninja, so you can throw slapback on it automatically, and it's going to crush. Or one of the other things you can do is you can set this up. So I cast, bam, automatically. I can set up to kill Armor Knight Bahamut. I can kill just about anything I want.
16 minutes. I'm going at 17.
Yeah, okay. Well, we better wrap it up here. So,
that
just the point of the deck is just to outlast your opponent by wiping their field as quickly as possible and dealing damage.
Yeah.
Usually, this deck is not a burst deck. It won't come out in spurts. It will have to actually, it has to take its time. But if it takes its time, it's going to go crazy strong.
Yeah.
It's fairly consistent. I get this 9 games out of 10. Well, probably 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 10.
8 out of 10 games, I'm getting that card fairly recently.
Like starting hands.
Aoi Hime, I don't get her as often. I see her a lot. I just don't end up using her because either I have another copy of that in hand or
basically
whatever.
All you really want to do is use that to get that. That's all you really use.
Well, it is a strong monster as well, and it's water.
Yeah, it's strong in that, but that's really kind of what you focus on using that ability for.
So in summary, this card, all water. Anything, practically half the stuff in this deck goes to the gauge, or not gauge, soul, goes to soul. You're setting up with a 7/7, you're boosting the power of all your units, including the weakest ones, so the weakest ones are tanks, essentially. And you're trying to slap back your opponent and keep knocking them out over and over and over. That is literally the deck in a nutshell.
Alright, well, thanks guys for watching.
Thanks for watching.
And see you, you'll probably get to see this deck in action soon. See you later. Bye!